Hello, friends. You've landed on Doc and Ellie's Pubcast, coming to you from Thomaston, Georgia. We're about an hour south of Atlanta, and as Mama always said, 2 steps closer to heaven. Tonight, we flip a switch. We live and are live on YouTube through 360news.com. Streetlight Boys are back under the lights. This time, you're a part of it. We're taking your calls, your comments, your questions. Here's your number, 706-240-4293. That's 706-240-4293. If you get a recording, try again. Tonight's brand new. We don't have the endless bank of incoming lines just yet. We will. That's coming. But if the flow gets brisk and you get a recording, don't give up. Call again. Stay with us. Last week, we took a lap around Matthews Field. We cruised the square. We hopped down to Piggy Park and up to the ranch house. We remembered R.E. Lee Rebels' homecoming, ROTC, slow dances, and the moment the street lights came on and told us it was time to head home. It wasn't nostalgia for nostalgia's sake. It was shared memory, stitching a town back together through the memories of the Streetlight Boys. And tonight we build on that because something special is happening in Thomaston, and it's not coming from one of us gray-haired storytellers. It's coming from a 9-year-old boy, a young man who has started collecting, posting, and preserving historic photos of Thomaston. And people are beginning to call him the youngest historian in town, 9 years old. While some folks scroll past history, he's saving it. A round robin for you guys. A question before Lucas joins us. Fellas, if a 9-year-old asks you tonight, what about Thomaston is worth saving? Not the buildings, not the money, but what's worth preserving? What would you tell him?
The heart of a small town. Small towns are pretty much the same, but you need to save that. And I feel sorry for people who don't live in or around a small town. But you take care of each other. And they say, well, everybody gets in your business. Well, keep your nose clean. You got nothing to worry about. But it's a lot of times people getting in your business can save your life. So I'd just say the heart of a small town, and it'd be strong.
COMMUNITY, community.
Yes, sir.
Any other thoughts?
I'm thinking about the shared communion, the spirituality. That's hard to say. And I hope the love for Jesus Christ. I do want to mention him every podcast. I always heard you should shout from the highest mountain. And I didn't ever think I could do that, but this mountain's pretty high here.
Is that sense of community something you inherited? Was it handed down to you?
Oh, yes, sir. My father had a business, grocery business, and it was a community center. We knew everything that happened anywhere nearby. And people came in just to find out what's going on.
And are we building something that should be passed on?
Yes, sir.
Pride and heart.
Amen. I think that sharing, as been mentioned, is just so important. We've shared here through the years in this community the good times. We've shared the bad times. And we're there for each other to congratulate, to empathize, to sympathize.
Win or lose. Well, here we go. Hello, Lucas.
Hello.
There you are. Welcome. Hey, can you hear me okay, Lucas?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me something about yourself and how this whole thing got started with these pictures of the past. Tell me about that.
Are you talking about the Facebook group?
The pictures on Facebook.
I was in my parents' room, and then suddenly my mom says, we should start a Facebook group.
Okay. So I'm not sure I caught that first part. Let me understand that. What made you begin looking at old pictures to begin with?
Well, I was a big fan of the 80s in like 25.
And when
And,
go ahead.
So it's a bad echo.
It's a bad echo.
And when did you decide to start the Facebook page?
Um,
It's okay. Let me ask you this, Lucas.
So,
Does anyone help you post those pictures to Facebook?
so we started sharing photos of old Thomaston on my dad's page. And I think the first one
What's the coolest old picture? What's the coolest old picture you've seen so far, Lucas?
I would say the old lumber factory. Oh. Sorry, I got it wrong. The lumber mill next to the bus stop.
Have people started sending you their own old pictures of Thomaston?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you this, just something I'm curious about. After looking at all of those old pictures of where you are growing up and your daddy and mama grew up, what's something about the way things used to be that you see in those pictures that you wish people still did today? Anything come to mind?
I think it's really just cars driving around and like houses being built.
Well,
Like I don't want Thomaston to see. I don't want sorry. So I don't see I don't want Thomaston to be like Los Angeles in like 2050.
well, everybody's applauding here.
We're on your side, Lucas.
Amen, Lucas.
Lucas, let me say this to you, my friend. Congratulations on what you're doing. The last time I checked, your Facebook users, I think, was up around 1,500 or so, and that might even be greater. That might even be greater now. And you've taken on a huge project, and you're successful with it, and we congratulate you. Sometimes those people are grandparents who remember where they came from, and sometimes they're 9 years old with a Facebook page. And we thank you, Lucas. Thank you so much for joining us, and our best to your parents, okay?
Can I
Wait 1 second. Leon has a real quick question for you.
I just want to let you know, or ask you, did you know that your dad rode to school with my wife and my son Lee? And of course, I know all your grandparents. And I think your grandmother actually worked at our store, Fowler's. I don't know
Fowler's.
out there near your mom and dad's, and your uncle Drew. He was a little bitty thing, and one night he came running in the door, and we knew he wasn't. He snuck off from my house, and so one of the boys that worked there, Scott Calloway, said, "I'll take him home." So he took your dad home, not your uncle. Your uncle Drew. For real.
Do you remember?
So I think I know all your family.
Do you remember?
So
All right,
Lucas,
so this is a real question. Do you remember when they used to have like steak in the back of the store?
What do you say?
Steak in the back of the store.
Steak,
Yeah, we had steak. I used to cut steaks. I
Mm-hmm.
cut them to order. In fact, one of the neighbors of the store was the head. He was the captain of RTC, and I cut him steaks. And then I got to be the battalion commander, and I think it had something to do with me cutting him steaks.
and what is that store today, Leon?
It is Sunnyside Country Store, I believe Chris calls it.
Right.
Chris Godia, and he's done a lot.
Yeah, they got like very wide pizzas.
What'd you say? What'd you say?
They got like very wide pizzas right now.
Yeah, we did know a lot of people. In fact, later on,
Yeah.
after we sold the business, both my brother and myself, we had other jobs, and we dealt with the public. And they said, our coworker said, "How in the world do you know so many people?" And it's the store. One more thing, I'll try to cut it a little short here because I know I'm rambling on. But when I campaigned for the Board of Education, I didn't do a thing. People came in the store and I asked them to vote for me. And so I didn't have to run around and knock on doors. And I thought that was great. My wife thought I needed a bunch of signs, but I didn't really see the point, but we put them out because she wanted them.
So every politician should have a store with steak in the back. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Lucas, thank you so much. Good luck. Congratulations, and keep growing, okay? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Lucas. Turns out our history doesn't always arrive with gray hair, huh? Do you guys, I'm going to ask you about a couple of memories people shared with me this last week. You guys remember Grill 19?
Vaguely.
Vaguely.
Up on, they used to
refresh
say,
us, refresh our memory.
well, I'll do my best. I was hoping you could refresh my mind. In those days, if you lived on Highway 19, it was referred to as you lived on the highway, okay? Yeah. So we lived on the highway, and just down from us, we lived a little north of Jeff Davis Road on the highway across from the hotel there, or motel, whatever it is. And just down somewhere, I think past the drive-in, which was there, was Grill 19, which is where you went to get a Pabst Blue Ribbon.
It was a honky tonk.
Oh, it was a honky tonk.
It was a honky tonk.
And they sold punch cards. Do you remember punch cards? A punch card, my recollection, and I would go in there with I was 5 years old or so, and I would go in there with my uncle when he was home on leave from the Army. And they had punch boards, they were called, on the counter. And they had a little, like a little needle thing that you would punch out the hole, and whatever was inside that was your gift. It could have been a discount, or I don't remember what the prizes were. Kind of like the early days of the lottery is pretty much what it was. I think today it's State Farm. So I got you on one.
You got me on.
You got me last week on Robert E. Lee.
And that was Daisy May too, out there. It was a honky tonk.
And what was that?
Daisy May.
Oh, okay.
You remember that one, Sam?
And let me ask
We
you.
would speed up when we went past that.
Okay. And where was it?
It was out there in that area.
In that same area?
Can't remember which building.
Out on the highway.
Right. And there was nothing up there. There was nothing up there.
We were.
Well, there were a few houses.
Yeah.
But where out there where Sal Bar and Marlin Street, that was an oat field.
Yeah. Yeah.
And My dad and Hilton Wilson had the old Starlight Drive-In out there where the Dock in the Box is now.
Right.
And so there was nothing, that and the sugar station across the road.
Yeah.
And so it was nothing out there much.
And after the drive-in, I think came Buddy's Mobile Home Park.
Yep.
Same location.
I
Is
think
that
that's
correct?
right.
Who remembers Come As You Are parties? That ever happened to you where you got that phone call at 5 o'clock on a Friday and said, we got a party going on, but you got to come as you are?
Happened to my folks one time at about 9 o'clock in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And they both had to go in their pajamas. I know
And they
you've heard
did?
of pajama parties, but this was the Come As You Are party. And not everybody came in pajamas, but they did anyway.
I remember standing there next to my cousin Donnie, who had just come back from the chicken houses, and smelling like chickens. And he got that phone call that said, "You're invited to the party, but you got to come just like you are." And he did. And
I think I'd have worn something similar.
he was awarded the most honest partner of the house. Let's go to the phones. Let's see who's there. Hello.
Hey Doc, how you doing?
Doing good.
I've got a question I'd like to ask the Streetlight Boys.
Okay.
In 1965, what was your preference in women's attire? The micro mini skirt, the hoop skirt, or the moo-moo?
Got to be the micro mini.
That's a trick question.
Yeah.
In fact, I was at Georgia Tech, and I got a job at a grocery store because my dad knew the owner, and I always made it my business at lunchtime when all these girls came in with those short skirts that I was doing something on the bottom shelf.
I don't think I'd have said that.
That was pretty risque in 1965 in Thomaston, though, wasn't it?
Well, they all did have panties on. Some rather nice ones, but nothing actually showing.
Did the moo-moos make it this far south? No.
Well, I think of that as something my wife might wear around the house.
Yeah.
But yes, they did.
So, here's another one for you. What was the most last-minute invitation you ever accepted? Back to you're invited, but you got to come as you are. Any others come to mind? You ever caught by surprise that you maybe have accepted it, but maybe shouldn't have?
Well, my parents would go out of town, and that was my excuse to have a party. And my little brother Jerry, it was his job to park the cars. And we had cars all over the yard, all over the place. And of course, didn't make my parents very happy. But anyway, he would drive these, and all the hot rods he would take for a spin. I don't know how old he was, probably about 14, 13, I don't know. And anyway, my good friend, I'm going to give him an alias too, Andy Billions. And he got us in a little trouble here and there. I don't guess it was trouble. It was just some activity in my upstairs bedroom, and there was a porch, and everybody had to climb up on the porch and watch. That was his idea. So that was like making out, that sort of thing.
What's the price of gas today? What's the price of gas today?
$3.45 or so
Yeah.
today. I think I saw it somewhere either
think-
yesterday or today at $3.45.
I bought some at $3.49 about 2 days ago. But we get a dime off at Walmart because we bought that free delivery thing. And cost $100, but I think we'll make it up even at a dime a gallon. Maybe not.
So we talked a little about this last week. Who remembers cruising when gas hit a price that you thought was outrageous? Like some people are today, and I suspect young people in particular are saying that is outrageous, that gas has gone from whatever it was, $2.75 or something. I'm not sure, to over $3. And you said, well, that's the end of that. Can't do that anymore. Can't afford gas. I know you and your buddies collected your quarters, but you probably got to a point where you couldn't have enough.
That's when you just had to park on the square and watch the others ride around the square. You'd gather a crowd, though, pretty quick. If you parked on the square, before you knew it, there were 2 or 3 more cars parked there. And before you know it, you had 6, 8, 10 people there.
Yeah.
And but if you got to where your gas gauge was too close to empty there, that's when you leave yourself enough, hopefully, to get everybody home in the car.
Yeah.
I don't remember me so much, but my granddaddy Bonds, my brother would drive him on these fishing trips down to Florida, and they had a gas war going on. So he had to stop at every filling station. It might not have held but an ounce, and he had to top it off at every one he saw. And also, he would check his oil, and he kept a quart in his car. And if it was, 1/8 of an inch down, he filled it back up. He had newspaper on top of his floor mats. He didn't want to mess up his floor mats. And he had a truck one time, didn't have a scratch on it. I don't know, it's probably about 10 years old. And he sold it for what he paid for it, brand new. So that's why he took care of cars. And he always said, if you watch your pennies, you don't have to worry about the dollars.
There you go.
But you talk about when dramatic change in gas price in 1973. It was Israel and Egypt went to war for the second time. Mm-hmm. And then they had the embargo, the gas embargo. And one day, luckily, I filled up in Americus, Georgia, where I was going to school, for 31.9. The next day, it was 79.9. Mm. And that made a big difference. And it's never been 31.9 since.
And then we experienced the long lines.
Yep. I was kind of like Leon's granddad. Boy, if I got down near 3/4 of the tank, I'm filling up. Yeah. I couldn't stand sticker shock.
Right.
What was the first local business that you remember closing in town that made you think, well, that's the end of an era? Times are changing. Was it the closing of a store, or was it the opening of a new kind of store that was developing north of town with Walmart and the franchises, so on and so forth? What comes to mind? The first one you remember that went under?
You talk about a business or an industry?
I would say a business, and then we can talk about the industry.
O.W. Jones hurt. It hurt when they finally gave up the ghost.
Mm-hmm. When did they close?
I'm not sure.
I can't remember either. What was originally we had 3 or 4 dime stores, we called them. Mm-hmm. Which was the first one of those to close? Maxwell's hung on a good while, didn't he? Moore's maybe. And that, I love the dime stores. And I'd make sure when I went to my Saturday afternoon movie that checking out what was anything new at the dime stores was part of going to the movie on Saturday afternoon. And that really disappointed me, that first one, and it may have been Moore's, that dime store that closed on the square.
Top dollar. But then McConnell's, they moved. They've been on the square for years and years and years. Mm-hmm. And they moved, they built a building down on East Main Street, on the south side of East Main Street. And they kept that open for a good while. And then the next thing you know, it wasn't there. Maxwell stayed on.
Was the first of the big chain stores that came to town, Grants out there.
WT was
WT Grant. And then we thought that was, I mean, it was, what in the world has happened to our little town there? We got a Grants.
Where were they located?
Where,
Planet Fitness.
Planet
yeah,
Fitness.
Planet Fitness is there now. And Kmart was there at one time.
Yep.
We had a Kmart here.
Blue light special.
Yeah.
And in the industry perspective,
Of course, Thomaston Mills was one of the first. Lanier Electronics went before that, but it wasn't that big. But Thomaston Mills, and it wasn't that long before Martha Mills, for the most part, was gone, and then the rest of it was gone. That broke my heart. Because I literally, as a child, I could hear the Martha Mills running when I was going to sleep at night because nobody had air conditioning. We had our windows open. And I could hear the clacking of the looms and the humming of the spinning frames and the twisted frames and all that. And they sung me to sleep. And that went away.
I think the closing of the downsizing, then closing of the most of the textile industry probably affected the town as much as anything has in the last half decade, probably.
town never recovered.
No. Well, you just think how many eggs we had in that basket,
Yeah,
job-wise.
yeah.
On the other hand, since 2010, we've gained in population significantly. People are building houses in town again. They weren't doing that. I guess that's remote working. I don't know. But whatever it takes, keep these small towns going.
A lot of this population gain is people retiring to Thomaston,
Right.
which does not help our tax
No.
situation. They're in the same boat we are, fixed income. And I'm on fixed income. You guys I know probably got plenty.
It's fixed.
But and one that I remember closing, and I don't think it affected the town terribly, but it was Crown Manufacturing, and that's because that was one of my jobs after we sold the store. I was running a press brake, and I just want to say a shout out to Oliver Campbell. That man knew how to operate a press brake. And I never quite got onto it. He taught me a lot.
Well,
But he quit one time because they sent in this guy, hot shot, to run the plant. And anyway, he made him angry and he quit. It wasn't long before they had him back. And I couldn't quite do it. Now, my main problem was you had to measure these bends for those press brakes, and I could not hold the caliper accurately. I'd get a different reading every time I tried to do it. And so, anyway, but it affected me some, and they probably had 100 jobs or so. But
we still seeing it right now with Quad Graphics closing and Eldora, even though that's Barnesville, it's still our community, and it affects us. And I went out to a kind of a farewell get-together for the employees and retirees. That's where I retired from, was Quad Graphics. And I really hate to see that for some mighty good, hardworking people. And, the thing, I guess, as I was asking different ones that I worked with through the years who were still there, they had had a job fair or two or whatever, and some had already picked up some jobs and all. But I guess the thing that made me a little bit more sad about it was that most of the ones that said they picked up a job, it was somewhere out of town, McDonough, Griffin, Jackson, somewhere like that. I didn't see many that had picked up a local job, a Thomaston job.
Did we miss anything, any industries that that you feel should have come here?
Well, I've always felt like the biggest thing that hurt us, we weren't on an interstate location.
Or an access.
Or have really good access to an interstate. So that's what I thought was the worst. you know, there's a lot of debate as to whether we should have built the dam on the Flint years ago. And that was one of, as I've always said, Griffin, LaGrange, Thomaston were very similar communities when I was growing up. We were all three textile, fairly heavily involved in textiles, and similar in size. They were maybe a little bit bigger than we were, but similar in size and the same kinds of town. Mm-hmm. And LaGrange got the interstate and a Corps of Engineers reservoir, and Griffin, of course, became somewhat absorbed into the South Metro. Became part of the South Metro, and so far as just job opportunities and all, that's why we have less. You know, I wish my boys had had the opportunity to at least make a choice about coming back here for a job, but it wasn't to be.
More and more, I hear the downside of not being on the interstate, with a lot of people who are leaving the north, leaving the industrial towns, that it's a positive that we are kind of hidden away in the pines.
It just means, though, for your amenities that it just want to have in a community, that the individuals who are there pay more. You don't have the industry to help support them.
It also means that there is a change in work patterns where we don't necessarily have to leave our homes anymore to work and to perform.
Now, you did mention several of those people that I've talked with last week in the quad the quad get together there, told me they'd be working from home. So that was good to hear. That part was uplifting. You know, that they can do that. They can still stay in the community that they love. So and be gainfully employed, working from home.
And people are moving here too, because they like our lifestyle. You talk to anyone who's moved here, away from, you know, even McDonough or Lovejoy, somewhere like that, they think they've died and gone to heaven because it's much slower. Now, I will tell you one thing. We do have a traffic situation, and it's traffic all the time. I mean, it is, you know, bumper to bumper all the time. They say this is nothing. So they're happy to be here. And so, you know, if they can work from home and they can come down here and they can bring their tax dollars down here, we'd be glad to have them.
That and people from California. I knew a guy that sold his place in California, a little small house for, $500,000, and came here and had a great house for $30,000, you know. Or maybe even less, but they could build mansions for what they got out of their property in California.
You're welcome to call us at 706-240-4293, and we have someone on the phone who is a part of the Streetlight Boys, Tony Chastain. Tony, are you there?
Hey, Doc, I am here.
Well, welcome. You're supposed to be here.
I know. I sure wish I could be.
Well, you want to update us briefly on why you're not?
Well, my mother-in-law, who lives in Taylor County, had a fall about a week or so ago, and she's 95 years old. And she's doing pretty good, but she's over in Forsyth at a rehab facility, and we're having to take some care of her. So hopefully she's improving, and will be back home before long, and I can join you in person. I would really like to do that.
We miss you, Tony.
Yeah, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the broadcast the other night. I watched it the other evening. Those three guys brought back a lot of memories.
So you brought something special to the show tonight?
Well, I just say that I grew up, in the East Thomaston Mill Village, and went to R.E. Lee, and I have a lot of memories about Thomaston, and just loved growing up here. It's a great place to grow up and live, and I look forward to sharing some memories with you in the near future.
Are the best days ahead of us, Tony?
What's that?
Are the best days ahead of us in Thomaston?
I think they're still ahead of us, Doc.
So do I. Appreciate you checking in with us, Tony. We'll see you soon.
Okay,
Our best.
we'll do.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
very much. What was one place in Thomaston that your parents told you don't go to? Was it Grill 19?
It was gone by the time I was mobile enough to go there. And I wouldn't have gone there. I don't know. They said stay off Goshen Road. It was dangerous. Goshen Road was one of the submarine race ports.
I understand. So there were no forbidden places, just things forbidden once you got there.
You kind of, the way we were raised, you kind of knew where you should go or where you shouldn't. They didn't have to tell you.
That's what I thought. I didn't ever have to be told. I just knew that was not a place I was supposed to go, a particular place or whatever.
It was
Mom and Daddy would have been
DNA,
disappointed in me. So
Now, I rebelled a little bit with that.
Yeah, he rebelled a little bit.
I'm trying to remember a place, maybe the ranch house.
Lake Henry, was that around?
It was waning.
Uh-huh.
It might have still been around, but
I don't remember where was
it was down below Roberta. There was some people would go down there.
It was right over the county line,
Oh no, it was on down from
was it?
Yeah,
south of
Roberta,
Yeah.
on the way to Fort Valley.
Fort Valley, yep, on 341. Yeah, I know where you're talking about now.
I do too now.
But no, I knew people who went there, and sometimes they'd talk about some of the girls, and they'd say, "Oh, they go to Lake Henry." Oh my!
And what was the oh my for?
So, well, it didn't have the best of reputations.
Because
I think you can fill in the blanks, Doc.
alcohol?
Yeah, among other things. Had a big parking lot out there. And people came from all around.
I understand. We talked a little bit about Silvertown last week, and of course the legacy of Coach George Wilson. For those who were fortunate enough to spend a little time in those important years, like I was, going from the country, moving out from the country, and there is a big difference growing up in the country and going to town, even though it's a little town. There's a big difference in culture. The biggest shock for me, I think, was the moving into the mill village, the organization, that everything seemed to be provided. Not that it was free, we earned it, okay? But we had housing that was reasonably priced. We had what they call the back alley that was built into the layout where trucks from the mills came to repair the houses and collect garbage and things of that nature. And then those great summers, and I think I only had maybe 2 of them before we left here. Those summer programs at Silvertown Ballpark.
And what else?
At Silvertown Ballpark,
yes.
those summer programs. It seemed to me that, and maybe it happened in all industrial towns. This is the only one that I had to compare with, but it gave us a place to go every day and to learn, and allowed our parents to go to work.
Right, my dad, he kind of raised us all. I mean, I'd hop on my bike because I live at the edge of Silvertown, and you had to go through the West Village. You got East Village and West Village. Through West Village to get to Silvertown Ballpark, where the summer program was actually centered. And I'd hop on my bike, and before I could get there, there would be half a dozen of us on our bikes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and wherever you went, you're never out of sight of somebody you knew. And if you did something wrong, you didn't have to wait for your mom and daddy to get on to you. Your friend's mom and daddy get on to you, or somebody else's They,
Probably knew before you got home.
oh yeah, my folks knew everything. The network was alive and well. And you talk about coming in the street lights. A lot of times we went out after the street lights came on, and we would roam the village in a dozen, maybe more, kids with our dogs behind us on the streets, walking up and down the streets, not causing any problem, not being loud. We'd see people we knew, wave at them, they wave at us, and so it was innocent.
What would today's version of that be? Could that happen again?
I don't think so.
Why?
People aren't the same. People are not.
There's just a lot more
Tell-
meanness out there nowadays.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happened to the
There's
world.
not as much parenting going on now in a lot of cases. Hey, you got your core of good kids, and they're going to be good kids. But I don't know. And there's so many distractions. And this,
Yeah.
the phone.
So did the mills arrive with that plan? Was it part of the negotiations? And I don't think there probably would have been back when they came in, the 1880s or so when they arrived?
And Martha Mill came in
1920s.
29.
Right.
Yeah,
But my dad, when he came back from the war, he had taken some courses as he was mustering out in industrial recreation. Well, he was working night shift at canteen in the mill, and he went down one day and saw Mr. Sam Black over the personnel. He knew Mr. Sam pretty well, and I told him, he laid out this idea of what he wanted to do, and they were having a problem on the mill village, east and west side. The boys were just running wild, and they were vandalizing and just it was just nothing for them to do except get into trouble. So he goes and he tells them he'd like to start a program like center at Silvertown Ballpark. Anyway, when all was said and done, they just pretty much wrote him a blank check. He met with the parents at West Village School one evening, and he said he wanted to start a scout troop. Well, he started Troop 21 and revived, Russell Oglesby revived Troop 20. So we got that going. Oh, he did. I was little then. I was just barely alive then. He had a football team at Silvertown War Eagles. East Thomaston had a team. Little Lee had a team. We all played each other. He had the tennis courts put in. He had the scout hall built, not the scout hut, the scout hall.
Not Robert E. Lee.
As he, it's all right to say that because people can identify that with that. No, he always said the girls have a hut, we have a hall. And but the program at the ballpark was amazing. I'm gonna turn this over to somebody else in just a minute. I don't want to filibuster too bad, but I want to tell you about his croquet course. Did you ever see that, Sandy?
I think I remember that.
You know, you got croquet course with your little hoops, and you just do this right here, and hit it, and little pink, no. Everything my dad did was big. I mean, and bigger was by definition better. Mm-hmm. So he made like a putt-putt course on steroids. He got metal. He went to Reader McGahee in Atlanta, Sporting Goods. Got metal mallets. Had them reinforced at the machine shop at the mill so they wouldn't come apart. Still had those terracotta balls. And he made a golf course, 18 holes, with ramps and tunnels and caroms and all kind of stuff. I still got a couple of the big pieces of steel pipe about that big around, about that deep, sink them in the ground. I think I got a couple of those at the house. And but when you went to tee off, it was like, bam! I mean, you could hear it 3 streets over when somebody was teeing off. And 18 holes of that, and all the time. Ping pong, horseshoes, washers, baseball, softball, you name it.
It wasn't a mandate for the company to provide. It was,
It was just his dream, his idea.
Right. But the why the companies did it and apparently are not doing it today is something I don't quite understand. It appears to me from a distance that, and living it for the time that I did, that the company, the Thomaston Mills, the Goodriches, so on and so forth, they were building their farm team. I mean, they were building their workers of the future. And it appeared to me that they were treating their current workers very well.
Yes.
For the
They
times.
live very well.
Yes.
They live very well.
So are any of those concepts like that? Are they baked in to agreements that happen today? If a new company comes to town, that we must have some, not promises, but guarantees to support the sorts of things that we're talking about? And I know to some degree they still exist, but not in the community sense that I remember.
I really don't know.
I don't think that's,
And why?
well, it's so competitive to get industry. And you know, when you start putting stipulations on people to build a plant in your community, like you know, we expect you to fund the library, we expect you to do this, we expect you to do that. It's just not in the.
Seems like it would, from a company perspective, and I know you're speaking strictly from dollars and cents because that's what's negotiated on the table. But it seems like from the company's perspective that they would invite some of those stipulations because they would be part of building their farm team. They would be part of a spirit that doesn't seem to exist anymore. Obviously, there was camaraderie at Quad, no question.
I was about to say
Yes,
that. I'd say
yes.
Quad, especially in its
Yes.
family years,
Yes.
but even to the end.
Right.
Quad Graphics was one that believed that, you know, the family was also part of the employee,
Right.
you know, and so many of the activities the company had and all, you know, had the family in mind.
So it's probably not so much that they wouldn't do it, but why would they? Because we don't need the workforce in the quantity or even the quality maybe that we did with Thomaston Mills and with Goodrich and Quad and so on and so forth. Maybe the incentive to build a farm team is no longer there. That's disturbing to me, disturbing in that I'm wondering what hope a child 17, 18 years old in this town has about the future. We know that Brightmart is not going to have any more employees in that plant than are needed. And an awful lot of the people who will be needed in that plant will not necessarily be people from here because they're not trained for it. They have not had the opportunity to be there. That's the only, that's my only political thought that you'll ever hear from me. I just remember the good old days. I remember growing up on our street for those 2 or 3 years we were there.
Well, I remember you growing up over there.
Yes, I remember the pride. I remember what was provided to us. We earned it. And in exchange for that, the pride built on itself. Does that exist anywhere anymore? We don't know, do we?
I don't know. I know the school system, for instance, does a lot for the kids outside of school, extracurricular, anything to keep them off the streets. And they do a good job, and they provide membership to the wellness center for all the employees. And I tried to get on being a next school board member, but it was illegal or something. And anyway, talking about back alleys, we used to get together before we were 16 again. Phil Hardage would get his daddy's car, and we'd swear we were just going to drive the back alleys However, they had to come out to Pickard to get me. And so we drove around, and we stayed pretty much in back alleys. But parents would ask, who's driving? I say, Phil Hart. We had me and
They
Phil.
didn't get better than Phil.
Yeah, no, and as far as I knew, he had his license, but he didn't. And anyway, we'd take turns driving.
I got a back alley story real quick. My dad said one time, all right, I know you're going to go parking. Sometimes there's not a parking place at Piggy Park. They're all taken. He said, so if you want to park, don't go down Goshen Road. Come right over here behind the house to our back alley, because nobody traveled those back alleys then. I mean, it was just, there was a way down, I mean, 2 houses down, there was a 150-watt bulb hanging up there, so it was just enough to see, but, you know, and he said, right there behind them, there's a little park strip right there, just pull right in there, and you're going to be safe. I said, okay, well,
They had lines up.
I said, okay, well, yep. And, well, I was telling some of the guys in our band. I told Daryl, I told Bobby, and I think I told Butch about it. And they laughed at me. Oh, he goes to his backyard to park. So I went with my date one night down to Piggy Park. Sure enough, it was all full up. So I said, well, she said, what are we going to do? I said, well, trust me. So, we went up Sunset Hill down the back alley, and these guys been laughing at me. I looked, almost didn't have a place to park back there. They were all back behind my house in that back alley. So we all had submarine race places.
Safe place.
Safe.
It started with heart and community, and I have one quick story about the back alley. And before that, and I have told this story both in columns and maybe even I mentioned it last week, where I learned about community. And I didn't see it so much the same way after leaving here. And one was when my sister was going for her operation that she did not return from, and coming home from Atwater School, and the mailbox being full of money to help the family. That was community. And the community in reverse of that was standing with my mother at the back door on our street, looking out at the back alley that separated our street from whatever the street was on the other side. And she knew when the people who were less off than we were, she knew when they would come down that back alley. She knew what day of the week it was, and she knew just about how many there would be, what time it would be. And she would fry extra chicken. And she would take that chicken out to, the place was to put it right next to the trash can, as it's called here, right next to the trash can. And we would see the families from Lincoln Park coming
Miller
down,
Park.
Huh?
They were from Miller Park.
Miller Park, coming down the back alley, the ladies with those huge head, what did you call those? Those things that they carried belongings with, wrapped in this blanket or whatever on their heads. And they would stop and take those things off and put whatever mother had left for them, including the food. And then they would go on. That was community. If you did that in Detroit, you would probably not return home whole. So when I think of community, and I asked those questions in the beginning, and it was a heartfelt answer you gave, that heart and community. The other day, driving through town, I said to Elena, look at that. And she said, what? I said, it's a relic from the past. What is it? It's 2 kids on a bicycle. You never see 2 kids on a bicycle anymore. Of course, they had their mobile phone.
Probably e-bikes.
Probably e-bikes. Now, the public the public out there watching you and listening to you appreciate the memories and appreciate the depth of your memories and what this town means to you. And I appreciate you coming in and sharing it with us. We'll close it this way. Street light is flickering again. That means the day is over. And around here, that's always been the old signal that the day's about done. Back when we were boys, that light meant it was time to finish the story you were telling, toss the last ball, start heading toward the porch where somebody's mama was already calling for supper. Tonight felt a little like that. Folks gathered up memories, few laughs, few questions, few comforting realizations that a town's real history doesn't live in official records. It lives in the people we remember. So if something the guys talked about tonight stirred up a story in your mind, maybe about Grill 19, but appears that I was the only one who remembered that as a 5-year-old. How a 5-year-old got into a honky tonk. I don't know.
When did that run off?
A come as you are party, a punch card at the bar, or just a night when Thomaston felt a little smaller and a little friendlier, maybe. I'm one of those that one of the reasons I came back home is because it wasn't on the interstate. But I didn't come home looking for work either. I came home to, I guess, in part to relive what it was, and in as many ways as we can, rekindle that. From the porch at 360 and the Streetlight Boys, and tonight on YouTube. Thanks for spending a little time with us. Thanks to Lucas, Thomaston's new historian, for joining us. Your creative contributions to our community will be forever remembered. Sleep well, Thomaston. And remember, we'll leave the street light on. It's Doc Granger, 360 News in Thomaston, Georgia.
Good night.
Good night.